She discovered that cancer loves. And we need to know what cancer loves so we can stop it. We also need to know what cancer hates, because we want to give it, is that right?
We will learn from Barbara O'Neill, an Australian health teacher who is internationally known for her focus on the body's natural healing potential. Disclaimer: the information provided in this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Do not disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have read or seen in this video. In this video, we will learn from Barbara on 7 acid-forming snacks we should try to avoid in order to provide a healthy environment for our body to naturally protect against cancer and other diseases. Barbara O'Neill emphasizes that the pH of the human body is crucial because diseases grow at different pH levels, making maintaining a proper pH balance essential for preventing illness. The blood's pH should be between 7.35 and 7.4. Cancer, in particular, loves acidic environments, low oxygen levels, and sugar.
Cancer loves acid. Cancer also loves no oxygen. The other thing cancer loves is sugar.
To help people conquer cancer, O'Neill suggests a highly alkalizing diet, methods to oxygenate the body, and greatly reducing glucose intake.
And so when people come to us wanting help to conquer cancer, you see what we do? We suggest a diet that's highly alkalizing. We suggest ways to oxygenate the body, and we also greatly eliminate the glucose, the sugars going into the body.
Barbara O'Neill stresses the importance of upholding a proper acid-alkaline equilibrium in the body to promote overall well-being. She delves into how the foods we consume can leave behind either an acidic or alkaline residue post-digestion, contingent on their mineral content. Essential minerals like calcium, potassium, magnesium, and sodium play a pivotal role in preserving a harmonized pH level, while minerals such as sulfur, phosphorus, chlorine, and iodine can contribute to increased acidity. O'Neill's recommendations advocate for a dietary composition comprising 80% alkaline-forming foods and 20% acid-forming. She advises against or limiting the intake of 7 snacks avoid cancer. What foods does Barbara O'Neill say one should avoid? 1. Meat.
So what foods are high in phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine? Meat. This explains why Dr. Colin Campbell found he could turn cancer cells on and off like a switch by the amount of meat and dairy products he was giving the rats.
Barbara O'Neill explains how consuming a lot of animal protein, especially from meat, can increase the risk of cancer, based on research by Dr. T. Colin Campbell in the China study. Campbell's studies showed a significant difference in liver cancer rates between wealthy Filipino children who ate a lot of meat and dairy, and less wealthy children who followed a traditional Chinese diet rich in vegetables, rice, soy, and fish. Additionally, a study in India found a direct link between liver cancer and protein intake in rats exposed to a cancer-causing substance called aflatoxin. Rats fed a diet with 20% animal protein had a 100% chance of developing liver cancer, while those on a 5% animal protein diet did not develop cancer. Campbell's further research revealed that plant-based proteins did not promote cancer growth, even at higher levels, unlike animal proteins. Diets low in animal protein or high in plant protein were found to slow tumor growth by reducing the entry of harmful substances into cells, slowing cell multiplication, and changing enzyme activity. These findings highlight the cancer-protective benefits of plant-based proteins compared to animal proteins, which have been associated with a higher cancer risk. Furthermore, a study mentioned in an Australian edition of Time magazine linked Western diets high in meat and sweets to an increased risk of breast cancer in postmenopausal women. This supports Dr. Otto Warburg's earlier research, which emphasized the importance of oxygen in cell metabolism, and how healthy cells prefer aerobic respiration over the anaerobic fermentation favored by cancer cells. Together, these studies emphasize the negative impact of high animal protein consumption, especially from meat, on cancer development, suggesting a shift towards plant-based protein sources for better health and disease prevention. 2. Fatty fish.
Fish is a meat on the acid side. Unfortunately today there is rarely a fish you can buy that is not tainted with chemicals or poisons. Fish is very high. The recent fisheries testing in Australia was they could not find one fish without mercury in it. I know about 3 years ago they banned all fishing from Sydney Harbour because the children of the fishermen had high levels of dioxin and mercury in them. So unfortunately, because of the state of our seas and our rivers today, fish really is not a safe food.
Barbara O'Neill advises against consuming fatty fish to prevent cancer and disease due to potential contamination, with high levels of dioxin, mercury, and PCBs, toxic chlorinated hydrocarbons, that can have detrimental effects on human health. Fatty fish, especially larger predatory fish like tuna, can accumulate high levels of mercury, a potent neurotoxin known to cause serious health issues, particularly affecting the nervous system. Prenatal exposure to mercury through fish consumption has been linked to developmental delays and cognitive impairments in children, while chronic exposure in adults can lead to neurological disorders, cardiovascular problems, and kidney damage. Dioxins, highly toxic environmental pollutants that can accumulate in the fatty tissues of animals, including fish, pose various health risks such as cancer, reproductive and developmental problems, immune system disorders, and hormonal imbalances. They are known to be carcinogenic and can disrupt normal cellular functions, leading to the development of tumors and other adverse health effects. PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, industrial chemicals recognized as persistent organic pollutants, can accumulate in the environment and bioaccumulate in the food chain, particularly in fatty fish, and have been linked to a range of health issues, including cancer, reproductive disorders, immune system dysfunction, and neurological problems. Long-term exposure to PCBs can have serious implications for human health, affecting various organ systems and increasing the risk of chronic diseases. Barbara O'Neill's recommendation to avoid these sources of essential fatty acids is based on minimizing exposure to harmful environmental toxins. By choosing plant-based sources of EFAs like flaxseed, chia, hemp, walnut, and soybean, individuals can reduce their risk of ingesting these toxic contaminants while still meeting their nutritional needs for essential fatty acids, promoting overall health and well-being by prioritizing food safety and minimizing the intake of harmful substances that can contribute to the development of cancer and other diseases. If you found value in this video so far, please subscribe and leave a comment to support the channel. 3. Wheat.
The hybridized wheat, the hybridization of the wheat created a lot more of the acid-forming minerals.
Barbara O'Neill stresses the importance of understanding how eating wheat can impact our health. She explains that in cities, people often consume a lot of fast foods made from wheat, which are high in carbohydrates. This has led to more individuals becoming overweight and developing diseases like diabetes. The body struggles to handle the excess sugar from high-carb diets, causing issues like weight gain and providing fuel for cancer cells. O'Neill also points out the difficulties posed by gluten, especially in wheat and oats, which are common grains in Australia. She mentions that up to 70% of Australians have trouble digesting gluten, leading to sensitivity, intolerance, or celiac disease. O'Neill highlights the complex gluten structure in hybridized wheat, created in 1968, which can be hard for our bodies to digest properly. Additionally, she discusses the negative effects of introducing grains to babies before they can digest them well, which can later result in problems absorbing nutrients and gluten intolerance. Furthermore, O'Neill talks about the impact of superphosphate fertilizers used in growing wheat in Australia. These fertilizers harm essential soil microorganisms that help plants absorb minerals needed for digesting gluten. This mineral deficiency in wheat can affect how our bodies process and absorb gluten effectively. Considering Barbara O'Neill's insights, it is essential to think about how consuming wheat, especially in high-carb diets and for those with gluten sensitivity, can affect our health. By following her advice for a balanced diet rich in fiber, enough protein, and adequate fats, individuals can make informed decisions about their wheat intake to promote overall health and well-being. 4. Sugary fruits.
Now I've got a question mark with fruit too. Why have I got a question mark? If someone has a yeast presence in their body and they're eating a lot of fruit, the sugar in the fruit will feed the yeast. And as the yeast feeds on the sugars in the fruit, it gives off acetic acid. It gives off lactic acid. It gives off uric acid. So it basically is feathering its nest. So when a person has a yeast presence and they're eating a lot of fruit, can you see that they are feeding the problem? And they're creating the environment of 5.5 where yeast loves to live.
Barbara O'Neill's recommendation to eliminate sugars from the diet, particularly cane and beet sugar, as well as honey and other sweeteners like fruits and fruit juices, is rooted in the understanding that sugars serve as a primary fuel source for fungi in the body. Fungi thrive on sugar, and by depriving them of this essential nutrient, individuals can create an environment less conducive to fungal growth and proliferation. This is crucial because unchecked fungal overgrowth can lead to various health issues, including compromised immune function and inflammation. While advocating for the removal of most sugars, O'Neill makes exceptions for Granny Smith apples and grapefruit due to their lower sugar content and unique antifungal properties. These fruits not only provide a source of sweetness with less impact on blood sugar levels, but also contain compounds that possess antifungal properties. For instance, grapefruit seeds are known to contain phytochemicals that exhibit potent antifungal properties, aiding in the suppression of fungal growth within the body. By incorporating Granny Smith apples and grapefruit into the diet while eliminating other high-sugar foods, individuals can strike a balance between satisfying their taste for sweetness and supporting their overall health. These fruits not only offer a natural sweetness, but also contribute to the body's defense against fungal infections, promoting a healthier internal environment. This strategic approach to sugar consumption aligns with O'Neill's emphasis on creating a diet that not only nourishes the body, but also helps combat potential health risks associated with fungal overgrowth. 5. Yeast bread. Barbara O'Neill's advice to eliminate all yeast from the diet underscores the potential impact of yeast on fungal growth within the body. Yeast, a type of fungus itself, can contribute to the proliferation of harmful fungi in the body, leading to various health issues. By removing sources of yeast from the diet, individuals can create an environment less conducive to fungal overgrowth and its associated health risks. Yeast-containing foods to avoid include yeasted bread, with the exception of sourdough bread that contains lactobacillus bacteria.
Now, the spelt kamut and teff, they have this similar fragile structure to the emmer wheat. Not as fragile as the einkorn, but if all of these are made into a sourdough bread, that can bring that structure back to the original very fragile structure, because sourdough bread, it's just a way to make the bread, and traditionally all bread was sourdough. 100 years ago, all bread was sourdough. The reason why they extracted the yeast out and just have yeast bread is because they didn't want to wait all night for the bread to rise.
Lactobacillus bacteria are considered friendly bacteria that can help maintain a healthy balance in the gut and combat the growth of harmful microorganisms, including fungi. By opting for sourdough bread over yeasted bread, individuals can still enjoy bread while supporting their gut health and reducing the risk of fungal imbalances. In addition to bread, other sources of yeast that O'Neill recommends avoiding include alcoholic beverages, yeast spreads, yeast extracts, brewer's yeast, mushrooms, and soy sauce. These products can contain yeast or yeast byproducts that may contribute to fungal growth in the body. By steering clear of these yeast-containing foods and beverages, individuals can proactively manage their dietary choices to promote a healthier internal environment and potentially reduce the risk of health issues associated with fungal overgrowth. 6. Peanuts.
In the book The China Study by Dr. Colin Campbell, this guy was trained in medicine, he became a vet, and he went to the Philippines because children were dying of liver cancer between the age of 8 and 10 years of age. And he presumed that the poorer children would be dying and the wealthy children not dying as much, because the poorer children are eating a very simple basic diet, but the wealthy children are having what Time magazine called the meat sweet diet. But when he went to the Philippines, he found that the village children weren't dying as much as the city children. And the only difference was the diet. And what he found was that every single jar of peanut butter he tested had aflatoxin. And aflatoxin is a mold waste that directly affects the liver. And that mold waste comes from the mold Aspergillus. See, peanuts are not a nut, they're a legume. They grow in the ground and they mold very easy.
Barbara O'Neill's emphasis on avoiding peanuts, especially in the form of peanut butter, aligns with the broader context of preventing cancer and overcoming diseases. Peanuts are prone to fungal contamination and can harbor mycotoxins, toxic compounds produced by molds. One of the most concerning mycotoxins found in peanuts is aflatoxin, which has been linked to various adverse health effects, including potential carcinogenic properties. Aflatoxin exposure has been associated with an increased risk of liver cancer and other serious health conditions, making it crucial to minimize consumption of contaminated peanuts and peanut products. By steering clear of peanuts and products like peanut butter, individuals can take proactive steps to reduce their exposure to these harmful substances. This is particularly important for those with compromised immune systems or pre-existing health conditions, as they may be more susceptible to the toxic effects of mycotoxins. Additionally, avoiding peanut products can contribute to overall better health and support cancer prevention strategies. To further reduce the risk of mycotoxin exposure, it is advisable to choose alternative nut butters made from almonds, cashews, or other nuts less prone to fungal contamination. These alternatives not only provide similar nutritional benefits, but also pose a lower risk of containing harmful mycotoxins. 7. Aged cheese.
Aged cheese. What's the blue in the blue vein cheese? The blue in the blue vein cheese is mold. So the only cheeses that don't sit under that category, the cheeses that have probably a pH of 7 would be your fresh. So that's your cottage, your ricotta. I'm not saying that they are okay, because usually they come from cows who have not been fed right or have chemicals in them.
Barbara O'Neill emphasizes the importance of avoiding aged cheeses due to their highly acid-forming properties. Aged cheeses, such as blue vein varieties like Roquefort, Gorgonzola, and Stilton, as well as cheddar, Parmesan, and aged Gouda, undergo a fermentation process where bacteria and enzymes break down milk proteins and fats, producing acidic byproducts like lactic acid. This increased acid load strains the body's pH balance, making it harder for the kidneys to maintain neutrality. The potential renal acid load of these cheeses is particularly high, requiring more effort from the kidneys to neutralize and excrete the excess acids. Consuming high amounts of acid-forming foods can deplete the body's alkaline minerals, such as calcium from bones, potentially leading to osteoporosis. Additionally, it can strain kidney function and increase the risk of kidney stones. The acidity from aged cheeses also promotes inflammation, which is linked to chronic diseases, including cardiovascular disease and cancer. While fresh cheeses like cottage cheese and ricotta have a more neutral pH, they can still be acid-forming depending on the cow's diet and the processing methods used. Cows fed on grain-heavy diets or exposed to antibiotics and hormones may produce milk that is more acid-forming. Moreover, processing methods like pasteurization, homogenization, and the addition of preservatives can further increase the acidic potential of these cheeses. Therefore, while aged cheeses can be enjoyed in moderation, Barbara O'Neill advises balancing their intake with alkaline-forming foods such as vegetables, fruits, and legumes to maintain a healthy pH balance and reduce the risk of chronic diseases.